So Lauren, you said you can't turn your video on your lower left-hand corner of your Zoom screen. You should be able to turn it on. All right. So thank you for joining us today for the Girl Scout Trail Adventure Badge event covering steps 1 through 4 for the cadet, senior, and ambassador badges. We are so fortunate to have our guest speaker today, Camille Picot. She is a science fiction and fantasy author. She's been writing stories since she was 9 years old and has over 20 published stories. And she is an ultra marathoner, and that's why I invited her to join us today. She is going to share her training tips, her trail tips, her safety tips. She has an entire list of things to cover. Thank you, Camille, for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Can everybody hear me? Am I unmuted?
You are.
Yes? Okay. Yes. Thanks, Jen, for inviting me. I was a Girl Scout for about a half a year when I was a kid, and I loved it. It was a lot of fun. I like to get all the badges, so I can appreciate all of you here today to earn your badge. I used to have one of those shadow boxes in my room where I would display all the badges up on my wall. So anyway, congrats on all of you for being here to earn your next badge. And like Jen said, my name is Camille Picot, and I am an author. This doesn't have much to do with trail running, but I wanted to show you one of my young adult books that you guys might be interested in. You can grab it on Amazon. It's called Sulan. It's a young adult dystopia, and ironically enough, the characters all go to school in virtual reality because it is too dangerous to leave their homes for various reasons. So the kids in this book have been sheltering in place their entire life, and they go to school in virtual reality. So it has some interesting parallels to the times that we're living in now. You can check that out on Amazon. And also, as Jen mentioned, I am an ultra marathon runner. Now, for those of you that don't know what an ultra marathon is, I'm going to back up a little bit and explain it. A lot of you have probably heard of 10Ks, half marathons, full marathons. So a full marathon is 26.2 miles, and an ultra marathon is any foot race that is farther than 26.2 miles. The shortest distance is usually 50K. That translates to roughly 31, 32-ish miles. That's kind of the entryway for ultra marathons. The next step up is 50 miles. After that, you go to 100 kilometers, which is about 62 miles. It jumps up to 100 miles after that. And what's really gaining in popularity at the moment is 200-mile races. People have, I think, 4 days to complete 200 miles. So yeah, just imagine that. I haven't done a 200 miler yet, but I have had a couple friends that have done it. So we're definitely kind of fringe fanatics. We love running. We love the outdoors. So I am super excited to share my passion with you guys. So I have been trail running for 6 or 7 years. I started in my mid-30s. And I've just been at it ever since. I'm a little bit addicted to it. So what I love most about trail running is it combines a lot of things that I love. I love physical exercise. I like using my body. I like how I feel when I exercise. It really helps me relieve stress, work through tension, work through problems, and just maintain an overall just healthy attitude on life. And I love the social aspect. I kind of joke that it's my cocktail hour, my 4 to 6 hour cocktail hour with my friends during the week. Some people go to bars, some people go to restaurants. Me and my friends, we go out on the trails for hours. So I get my friends, I get my outdoors, I get the exercise, and I just love it. How often do I run? Well, there's Corona running, and then there's pre-Corona running. So I guess I'll talk about pre-Corona running. I usually run about 3 days a week. I work full time. I'm a mom. So I don't have as much time to run as maybe I would like. So I usually get 2 to 3 short runs in during the week. And then I always try to get a long run in on the weekends. Long runs, I usually go by time, maybe not so much by distance. So when I'm training, I'm usually doing 4 to 6 hour runs on the weekend, which is fun. Lots of outdoor time, like I said. Let's see. Next question. How far do you run? Um, I'm usually always, if I've got a training block, I'm always scaling up. And usually what I do is on the long runs, I'll start out, if I haven't been working out for a while, I'll start at 2 or 3 hours for my long runs. I'll do those usually in like 3 or 4 week blocks. So every week I'm building, getting a little bit stronger, and then I start adding an hour. So for example, if I had signed up for a race now, I would probably start with 2 to 3 short runs during the week. Those are usually hour, hour and a half. And then on the weekends, my long run would start out between 2 to 3 hours, and I would do that for a month. And then the next month I would ramp up to 4 hours, another month ramp up to 5, and usually kind of max out at 6. Yeah, so it's just, let's see, next question. Are there any books that you recommend for the sport? There are so many fun books. I'm a bit of a junkie, so I love books about running. I've read a lot of them. 2 of them that I can recommend that are super popular. The first is Ultra Marathon Man by Dean Karnazes. Dean Karnazes is actually a Northern California local. He lives in Sausalito. You can actually see him out on the trails around here. He's amazing. The book Ultra Marathon Man, it really captures the spirit of ultra running when you start it, and just that excitement that you can find in the adventure and challenging yourself to do something that's really hard. The other really famous running book, if you have not read it, this should be number 1 on your list. It's called Born to Run. It's by Christopher McDougall, and it'll blow your mind, you guys. It's the best, probably hands down the best running book out there. So yeah, definitely check out those 2 books. And there's tons of videos. There's a lot of trail running videos out there. My personal favorite, it's one, you probably have to either buy a bootlegged copy on eBay, or you might be able to find it on YouTube. It's called Running on the Sun. And my joke is that this movie was my gateway drug to ultra running, because after I watched this movie, all I could think was, oh my gosh, I have to do an ultra marathon. This is crazy. So what it is, it documents runners at a race called Badwater, which is held in Death Valley, and it's held in January. So it's the hottest month of the year, and people run from Badwater all the way up to Mount Whitney. So they go from the lowest point in the United States to the highest point in the United States. I think it's 135 miles. I can't remember off the top of my head. But the pavement is so hot, it melts your shoes. People, they usually have RVs that have to travel with them, and they have giant ice chests full of ice. People have to get into the ice chest periodically because their bodies get too hot. So it's quite a fascinating video. So if you guys can find that on YouTube, again, it's called Running on the Sun. It'll blow your mind, and it shows you how crazy ultra running is. Magazines about the sport. My favorite is called Ultra Running Magazine. Easy to remember. It's got great pictures, and it's full of race reports. So it's a really cool way to scope out if you're looking for races, other races around the world, and learn about them. There's also a magazine called Trail Runner Magazine. So both of those are really good. Trail Runner covers a lot of shorter distance stuff too. So if you're not interested in going the ultra distance, there's stuff in that magazine with shorter stuff. Okay, how do I research my trails, and how do I decide where to go? Wow, okay, so there's a lot of things that goes in for me that go into picking where I'm gonna run. Some of the books that I write are about trail running. I have a zombie series for adults, and it's about trail running from zombies in Northern California. So if I'm doing book research, I like to actually go out and run the trails that my characters run. So I've done that. I've done a lot of exploration around Northern California. A lot of times it depends on how much mileage I need to get in. So if I'm just doing something a little shorter, I'll pick a shorter trail. If I need to get that 5 or 6 hour run in, then I'm going to pick usually a longer trail so I don't have to do too many loops. For races, it's a lot of word of mouth. The trail running community is pretty tight knit. Everybody talks to everybody else, and we hear about cool races from one another. So that's another way to find out about really cool places to run. And then anytime I travel for work, I get on Google Maps and I scope out and I look for parks and trails, and I love to go running in new places. I periodically have to go to Colorado for my day job, and it's pretty close to Boulder. So I love to go up to Boulder and explore new trails anytime I'm up there. What trail difficulty level do you prefer? There's a huge range in difficulties when it comes to trail running. Trail running is very different from road running. For instance, when you run on the road, you don't usually have to stare at the road the whole time because it's flat and you're just gonna go. On the trail, if you move your eyes off the trail, there's a good chance that you're gonna fall. Uneven, narrow, sticks, roots, rocks. So you're always looking down to make sure that you don't fall. And then there's elevation, so there's climbing. And climbing is one of those things. I have friends that can climb faster than I can run. It's a certain skill set. Some people are really great at climbing races. Myself, I prefer more rolling hills, maybe not quite so much climbing because I'm more of a steady Freddy. I can just crank out miles pretty consistently, but I'm not a great climber. So I tend to like races with not as much elevation gain and more running. I have another friend, she hates running. She'd rather climb to the top of a mountain and just power hike the whole way rather than do a race with a lot of running. So you just have to kind of find what fits your taste and your skill set and how you like to train, that sort of thing. My favorite distance, I love 50 miles. It's long enough that it feels like a really great accomplishment when I finish, but it's not so long that I have to kill myself in training. So that's kind of my favorite distance at the moment. For fun, I also like something called they're gaining popularity. I call them the 2/3 marathon distance. So it's somewhere, but it's longer than a half marathon, but shorter than a full marathon. So those are fun. I enjoy those a lot as well. What time of the year do you prefer to trail run? I run all year. I run in the pouring down rain. I run when it's freezing. I run when it's hot. I run when it's beautiful outside. So I don't discriminate. I like being outside. I've done those 5 to 6 hour runs in pouring down drenching rain, and yes, it gets very interesting. It is worth it if you are going to get serious about trail running. I do have a nice waterproof jacket. You're not dry when you're done, but it at least keeps the cold water off you for the most part. And what would you say your level of fitness is? This is an interesting question because what I'm finding since I've been at this for 6 or 7 years is what happens is you start building a base fitness. So for example, when I first started, I think I ran a half a mile and thought I was going to die. It was horrible. Now, for example, as soon as the shelter in place went in order, I stopped running. I didn't run for, I don't know, it was like 5 or 6 weeks. And then I signed up for a virtual half marathon. And so I basically went from no training and I went out, did a half marathon. It was fine. It was no problem. So I would say now I have a really great base level of fitness. Every year that increases, and the mileage that you can do comfortably increases every year the more you train. I have a girlfriend, she's amazing. She doesn't even start getting tired till after like 50 miles. She has this amazing base level of fitness. For me, I would say my base level fitness, I start getting tired maybe around 20 miles. So I definitely have a long way to go before I feel comfortable with 50 miles. So that's what happens. The longer you do it, the stronger your base level of fitness is going to become. Your body just knows how to do this stuff. Okay, do I practice solo or with another person? I run a lot with my friends. Obviously not now with sheltering in place and trying to stop the spread of COVID. I'm doing a lot of solo miles, but for the most part, I often run with friends. Like I said, it's my friend time. That's how I get my social hour. Emergencies. How to deal with emergencies. When I do run by myself, I don't run in the same places when I am alone as I do when I'm with my friends. I don't run any place where I don't have cell reception if I'm by myself. So I always pick routes where my cell phone will work. When I'm with my friends, one of them carries, it's some kind of a beacon. It's like an emergency beacon that works off the satellites. And I'm sorry, I don't know the name of it off the top of my head, but I can find it if anyone's interested after the show. I also have helicopter insurance, which I would recommend for anybody that does this sort of sport, because you do get out in the middle of nowhere. And if you do fall and you get hurt, sometimes helicopters have to come in. So most of my friends and I, we all have helicopter insurance. And for all the moms out there, it is super cheap. I think it's $85 for your entire household. And it's good to have just for other emergencies. I've had family friends where people just got sick and had to get medevac to San Francisco for, you know, emergency surgeries and stuff. So it's great for any family to have. So I definitely recommend that. If you use apps like Map My Run and I think Strava, there's features that you can buy that track you. So if your parents are looking for you, they can actually pull up the phone and get on the running app and find out where you are. So that's another great safety options. And oh, Jen, I have forgot to ask you if there are any questions. I'm sorry, I get into talking about this. So are there any questions that I can answer so far? I can't hear you. I still can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Ah, yes, now I can hear you.
All right, great. We have lots of questions. Everyone's super excited. Lots of wows and yikes. And every time you say a number like 200 miles, I'm getting a 200 exclamation. So, and then we also have a lot of girls on the call that already do track, cross country, and run. So that's exciting.
Yay!
Yeah. So the first question that came up was, what's the average number of miles you run a week?
Oh, that's a great question. When I'm training, I'm probably in the mid 30s.
Okay.
Because I'll probably
perfect.
get 20 to 25 on the weekend, and then my runs during the week are usually around 6. So.
Okay. And then somebody wanted to know, what's the fastest mile you've ever run?
Oh, I'm not very fast anymore. I think I did a low 7s at one point. Okay. As your mileage increases, your speed tends to go down unless you're an elite, because if you go out too fast and too hard on a 50-mile race, you will blow up and be on the ground 20 miles in. So you really have to pace yourself.
Yep. And then some of the girls wanted to know, what is your favorite time of day to run, or when do you fit it into your schedule?
I love to run in the morning. There's a couple reasons. Part of it is my schedule dictates that I have to run very early. And I love the morning. You see things in the morning that you don't see at any other time of day, the light, the animals, the world just waking up. So yeah, when I run before work, I usually get up 4:30, 5 o'clock. On the weekends, if I'm doing a really long run, my friends and I are up by 3, 4 in the morning. So we get to hit those trails when it's still dark and watch the sun come up. So I definitely like the mornings.
That sounds beautiful. So another question is, what gives you the passion to keep running?
I love doing it. I love being out there. I love using my body, and I love the feeling of having done it. You know, like when you cross the finish line and you know that you've run 50 miles or 100 kilometers, nobody can take that away from you. And it really teaches you how much you can do that maybe you haven't given yourself credit for. And you learn an inner strength that you didn't know you had before. And it carries over into lots of other aspects of life. So when I have to do something hard, I just say, oh, I ran 50 miles. I got this, right? This is easy. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And they want to know, when you're going on a 4 to 6 mile run, are you running the whole time or do you take breaks?
I run the whole time.
Okay. And we have a lot of questions about shoes. What kind of shoes are you wearing?
I have shoes. You guys want to see shoes now? I don't know what number that was, but we can talk about shoes now.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So I brought a lot of options here. So this is like my standard kind of treadmill comfortable shoe. And let's see, can you guys see how it's basically flat? There's not a lot of traction. It's super flexible. So this kind of shoe is great for like treadmill or walking. I don't run in it too often. There's not quite enough support. So when I'm on the road and I need a little more support, I love this shoe. And see how it's not quite as flexible as the other one? There's just a lot more support. It's a lot more solid. It has a little more grip. Can you guys see? See the little ridges? It's got a little more grip. And these are actually great for non-technical trails.
What brand is that, Camille?
Oh, this is Pearl Izumi. They have unfortunately discontinued their shoes. This one's like way past its expiration date, but I love it and I'm stretching it as far as I can. The first one is a Saucony. Yeah, I love this one. If you're local, Sonoma County, call HRC. They help me find all my shoes and they don't steer you wrong. They're amazing. If you have feet that are pretty sensitive, this is called a Hoka, and they are really known for tons of cushion. If you can see like how thick the cushion in this shoe is, this gives you a ton of padding and support. So if you have feet that go ouch, this is a great shoe. The one thing you have to think about when you go to a really high stack like that, your connection with the earth is not at, you're above the earth. So your balance is sometimes not as good as it is when you have a much lower shoe. So you can fall in these shoes if you don't get used to them if you're running. I've taken some falls in these. I had a friend who took a pretty bad fall. Oh, I forgot my trail running shoe. Sorry, that must have been in the garage. Okay, so as you move into a trail running shoe, what you're gonna see is these treads, they're gonna get thicker. If you do a lot of trails with rocks, they actually turn into like these really thick lugs. They might be like a 1/2 inch thick. Trail running shoes don't work as great on the road, so you really have to pick your shoes based on the terrain that you're gonna be traveling on most of the time. Sorry, I forgot those. Okay, and I brought the hardcore shoe. I love these. I don't actually run in these because my feet are a little too sensitive, but hardcore runners, outdoorsy people, they love these. So this is actually a running shoe. It's a sandal with Velcro. It's hysterical. And if you do want to go this route, this is like serious minimalist footwear. You do have to ease into it. Like you might have to start 1/4 mile, 1/2 mile at a time so you don't break bones in your feet. Americans grow up in shoes and our feet are used to having padding and cushioning, so you have to be careful. I just wear these for sandals. If you read Born to Run, you will learn all about these crazy running shoes. They're called Luna sandals and they're named after a man in the book. So these are just fun. I just had to show those to you.
All right,
okay, Jen.
So we have another question. What's the craziest climate you've ever run in?
Oh, craziest climate. Okay, I did a race in Arizona. It was a 50 miler in Antelope Canyon, which I believe is north of the Grand Canyon. It was so cold when I started that the water froze in my pack. So I was, oh, here, I'll show you guys. I know hydration is later on the list, but this is an example of a hydration bladder. This is a liter. This is for short runs. Can you guys see? Sorry. So you fill it up with water. There's a lovely straw. This straw is actually insulated. So after I ran in the desert and froze my patukas off, I graduated to a insulated straw so that it wouldn't freeze while I was running. So yeah, I don't like the cold. So that was probably the most extreme weather.
And then they wanted to know, do you eat specific foods before the night before or before you go on a run?
I do. If I'm doing a short run, I don't eat, and I don't usually carry water. So anything less than an hour and a half, I never worry about food or water. Once you start getting over 2 hours, I definitely do. My favorite is I always have a bean and rice burrito before a long run. Everybody's stomach is different. You have to find what works for you. I'll just run through a list of what's maybe some of my other friends do. They might have potatoes, they might have eggs, they might do oatmeal, they might do bagel with peanut butter and bananas. So you just really have to find your stomach. What happens is when you run a long way, your body is sending energy to away from your core to help you keep moving. And so what happens is, for some people, your stomach will stop working. So you have to find food that your body can digest. And sometimes you have to decrease your speed so your body can start diverting energy back to your stomach to digest your food. I often have, these are called Picky bars. I often have these with me. It's kind of like natural food. There's gels. I brought this as well. This is called Tailwind. It's a combination of electrolyte and it's also fuel, and it dissolves in your water. So on long runs, I always have this. It'll replace the salts, and it does have calories as well. So it gives you energy.
Okay, so we have 2 more questions in this question and answer session, and then we can go to your list. Do you participate in any other sports?
At this moment in my life, I do not. Before I was a runner, I was a long distance swimmer, but I don't do swimming anymore, just running.
And then do you listen to music when you're running to energize you? And if so, what do you like to listen to?
Oh, I'm glad you asked this because I wanted to cover this. If you are running, actually, and it doesn't matter where you run, you should never have 2 earbuds in your ear. If I do listen to something, I only run with 1 earbud. And the reason for that is you want to be able to hear cars if you're on the road so you can get out of the way. I recommend that you get off the road, especially I run on a lot of country roads. If a car is coming, there's no bike lane. I know people have the right of way, but cars are like a bazillion times bigger and stronger than me. So I don't mess with that. You get off the road. I see a lot of questions on the helicopter insurance. The $85 is per year. So you're good. $85 covers your entire household for the year. So if you have 3 in your household or 8 in your household, the $85 covers your household for the year. I mean, if you can afford it, you should definitely have it. Oh, back to safety, the 1 earbud thing. And then if you're on the trail, you just want to hear if there's animals or other people out there. They actually have, and I don't remember the brand name, but you can look it up on Amazon. They have a running earbud that is a single. It's just 1. So definitely recommend grabbing one of those. I sometimes listen to music. I usually listen to audiobooks and podcasts if I'm by myself. I love stories, so I love to listen to stories. Yeah, I probably prefer those over music.
Okay. Great.
All right. Are we back to the questions? The
Yes.
list? Okay. Let's see. Oh, planning vacations. Occasionally I'll plan a trail running vacation with a friend. But vacations with the family, what I do is we plan our vacation and then I go scope out the area and find cool places to run. So I kind of do it in reverse if I'm with the family. Let's see, we talked a little bit about water. Anything under an hour and a half, I never worry about it. Once I start getting over an hour and a half, I usually carry water. I'll carry 1 liter for anything under 4 hours. When I start getting over 4 hours, then I usually carry a 2 liter. This is a 1 liter. So a 2 liter is like twice this size. So it does get heavy when you carry it. Let's see, gear. Oh, I wanted to show you guys a running pack. There's lots of different things you can use. My thing of choice is a running pack. It's basically a lightweight backpack and I can fit all my food. I can fit my water. There's strings in the back. I can put a jacket under here. And these front pouches, if you don't like the water on your back and you want it in your front, you can get soft flasks and you can carry them in the front of your pack. I always have a hat. Some of my friends run in sunglasses. I don't like to do that. I always wear sunscreen. Depending on where everybody is, ticks are a real problem. I run cold, so I usually have enough clothes on that ticks are not a problem for me, but I do have friends that run in shorts, and we do routinely pick ticks off one another. You always want to check under your sports bras. I have my husband check my hair because my hair is dark. You can usually feel it when they bite you, so it's pretty easy to get them off you pretty quickly, but you definitely want to watch out for ticks. So if you have off or any other kind of bug repellent, definitely recommend spraying that around your ankles, your feet. They also fall on your head out of trees. I often wear a hat, so to protect your head, especially if I know I'm on a trail with a lot of trees, you get the hat, protect your head. Okay, that was my checklist. We talked about shoes. We talked about fuel. Let's see. I think because I don't run super fast, my stomach can handle a lot of things. I mean, I'll eat, if I'm on a race, I'll eat pizza, I eat fruit, crackers, pickles. Oh, pickles are great. Pickles are a natural source of electrolytes. So pickle juice is fantastic if you need a little kick with some salt, if you're out there. When should you shop for shoes? In terms of shopping for shoes, it doesn't matter what time of day. A general rule of thumb is that you should size up one size. So for example, I normally wear an 8 or an 8.5 in all my other shoes, and running shoes, I always get in a 9 to 9.5 because your feet do swell. You're pounding for a long time, depending on how far you're running, and your blood goes down. All the fluids go down into your feet. They do swell, you do get blisters. So yeah, you definitely want to size up. And you have to also look at the toe box. It depends on your feet. You can have narrower toe boxes if you have smaller feet. And then if you have wider, they have wider toe boxes. That's a really important thing to look at. My toes are really susceptible to blisters. I get a lot underneath my toenails. That's fun. We could talk about how to lance blisters. I can tell you all about that if you're not too grossed out. Let's see, what's next? How long do your shoes last? Your shoes go by mileage. I always overuse my shoes because I love them, and you know, it's 150 bucks every time I buy a new pair of shoes. Honestly, once you start getting around 300, 350 miles on a pair of shoes, they really need to go. Like I said, I stretch them. I usually go through maybe 2 a year. But I should have more, closer to 4, honestly. And what do you do to make them last longer? There's nothing you can do. There's a point, and you can start feeling it in your body. You'll start getting aches and pains in places that you didn't have aches and pains in. It's the shoes. So you got to cycle them out. Training tips. I'm just trying to think. You have to start where you are. So, you know, if you currently don't run, don't roll out the front door and think you're going to knock out 5 miles, because you'll probably die and it's no fun. So just start easy. Go run for 10 minutes. Don't kill yourself. Maybe do it every other day. And the general rule of thumb is you increase by 10% every week. And you just slowly build. So, you know, if you run 10 minutes every other day for a week, I guess 10% would be a minute, but maybe bump it up, you know, 5 minutes or something. So just take it easy. Listen to your body. Runners, myself included, are notorious for running until we're broken. Those are kind of the harder lessons. So if something hurts, it's always good to take a break, listen to your body, and don't do it. Or do it and then pay the price. I've done that too. We talked about cross training. I don't cross train at the moment. I don't have breathing techniques. I stretch sometimes if something hurts. Excuse me. Hi. I'm a fan of foam rollers, so I do a lot of foam rolling. Sometimes if I'm too sore, it hurts too much to stretch or to use a roller. Hi. My daughter would like to say hello to everybody. Say hi. Hello. It's the Girl Scouts. Okay. Mommy's got to get back to this now, okay? So yeah, I'm a fan of foam rollers, and sometimes I'll find a YouTube video on yoga. I might do like some running yoga stretches. So you could try that. So I run on both road and trail. You definitely want to have different shoes for both. Do I log my workouts? I used to be neurotic about this. I kept my little Google spreadsheet and I would track my mileage. I would track my elevation climbing. Now I just kind of like sort of keep track in my head. I kind of know what I have to do, and I don't write it down. Sometimes I use Strava. I do have kind of a semi-fancy watch that will track elevation gain and mileage. Sometimes that's kind of fun. But I'm not too manic about logging it. I've been doing it long enough that I kind of know if I'm going to train for 50 miles, I kind of know what I have to do. So I just do it. Do I wear a compass? My watch does have a compass. Do I know how to use it? No, but technically I do run with a compass. Have I ever gotten lost? Yes, many times. I don't have a great sense of direction. I'm pretty comfortable getting lost. So if I'm out and I end up somewhere and I don't know where I am, I will just turn around and I just kind of keep going till I find my way out. So I've never been like lost for hours or anything like that. But if I do get turned around, I just keep going, find my way out. I know that I know that my feet are strong, and if I do get way out there somewhere, it's okay. I can turn around and find my way out. Trail markers, depending where you are, sometimes there are no trail markers. If you're at a local park, they're pretty well marked. But I've definitely been on places where you're like, what trail? Is this a trail? I can't tell if this is a trail. And you kind of, there is a little bit of winging it sometimes. I did a trail in Northern California called the Lost Coast. I couldn't even find the start of the trail. It was buried. I had to go ask strangers on the beach if they knew where it was, and they kind of described it to me, and I was able to find it, but the entrance to the trail wasn't even marked. And it's used so infrequently that it was like completely overgrown. You're squeezing through brambles, and you're kind of wondering if you're on the trail. Like, it kind of looks like a trail, but you're up to your neck in brambles and you can hardly get through. So maybe it's not a trail. Maybe this is a deer trail. So that happens too. I've never had a serious injury on the trail, but I can tell you some stories of friends of mine that have been pretty severely injured. I had a friend doing an ultra down in Marin. She fell and she smashed her face. And she did finish her race, by the way. She finished her 50 kilometers, and then she drove herself to the hospital, and they had to give her emergency cosmetic surgery because it was so severe. I had a friend that fell and broke her wrist. Things do happen on the trail. And this goes back to, you always keep your eyes on the trail. There are rocks, sticks, roots, everything's uneven, especially in the dark. Got to keep those headlamps down, get the light. People do fall. People take bad falls. Anytime I do a trail run, they have medics at every aid station, and you will always see people out there covered in blood because somebody eats it. It happens, just part of it. Have you ever experienced soreness or injury after your trail run? All the time. All the time. I like being sore because it means that I worked hard, so I like that. I have had times where I didn't even realize I was injured till after I was done. This past October, I ran a 100-kilometer race, and when you go that far, kind of everything hurts. So sometimes it's hard to tell if something's hurting more than it should be because everything's hurting. But when I was done, I realized I had pretty bad tendonitis, and I was out for about 3 months with that injury. So sometimes that happens too. Who do you let know where you are running? I usually let my husband know where I'm going, and a lot of times I'm with friends. So I definitely, people know where I am. And my favorite part of my trail run, okay, I love to take pictures. My friends and I all love to take pictures. And, that's a good thing to remember. Running can get really competitive. People can get really caught up in PRs and times, and that's awesome if that's your thing, but it's also totally okay to go out and have fun. Like, it's fun. Oh, look at that. Let's take a picture. Oh, this is a cool background. Let's take a selfie. Oh, we haven't been here before. Let's go explore this. Like, it's totally okay just to go out and be on your feet and be outside and have fun. So maybe I don't look for prizes so much, but I do always love to find cool things to take pictures of. I do not keep an adventure journal, but I love to post all my running pictures on Facebook and tag all my friends. So that's probably how I do that. And I have runners texting me right now, telling me about their runs. I have a group of friends. We're doing a virtual 1,000-kilometer race. It's called the Great Virtual Race Across Tennessee. If anybody's interested, it started yesterday. And you have 4 months to run 1,000 kilometers. You can walk too. So it's about 5.1 miles a day. So a bunch of us signed up, and I have people sending me their stats right now. So that could be a fun thing to do during shelter in place. Think about that. Okay, what is your advice in planning a first trail run for girls from grades 6 to 8? If you're going to do your very first trail run, you definitely want to pick something close to home, and pick a moderate distance, like maybe pick a half mile or a mile. If you want to do a race, I would look for perhaps a local 5K or 10K trail race. There's lots of free training guides online, and give yourself 3 or 4 months to train and have fun with it. That's the biggest thing. Like, have fun. Running is fun. Being outside is fun. Accomplishing something and crossing a finish line is fun. So just remember that. Okay, and what kind of training can you do that you're sheltering in place? Yes, this is exciting because we're all supposed to stay in our neighborhoods. I do have a treadmill, but I know not everybody does. But just go out and run around the block. I did a virtual half marathon. I ran 18 and a half times around my block. It was fun. So yeah, you can do that. Oh, sorry, guys. Oops. There. Okay, that was the end. Yes, yeah, more questions.
Okay, perfect. There's a lot of questions on what type of socks you recommend and how high they are.
That is a really good question. That is a really good question. I did not bring socks. Actually, I did a Facebook live stream all about socks last Thursday. So if I'm on Facebook at UltraRider, you can watch the live video. I've got actual socks you can see. So there's different thicknesses of socks. If it's hot, I'll wear a very thin sock. If I'm on the trails, I usually wear ankle socks because it keeps ticks from getting on around my ankles. I like compression socks. They're a little more expensive, but they're really tight, and they kind of keep everything in place, especially like if you roll an ankle or something. I took a fall maybe about 1.5 years ago. I was running at night downhill in the woods. I rolled my ankle, but luckily I had my compression socks on, and then it was winter, so I got in a creek and I iced it. So that, I guess I forgot about that because we talked about injury. So you can always ice yourself in a very cold creek. That helps. And I do like the compression socks. They also have socks. I'm not sure what the technical term is. I call them toe socks, but it's basically each toe has its own little compartment. Some of my friends wear those. They say it helps with blisters. It doesn't really help me, but they're great for flip-flops. So yeah, think about the terrain. If you're on the trail, ankle socks are great. Some people will wear compression socks all the way up to their knees, especially if it's cold. And then if it's warmer, I tend to like the thinner socks. Hey, for people that are local in Sonoma County, the owner of HRC just messaged me, and he said that any of you guys that mentioned this show, you can get 10% off at his store. Healdsburg Running Company in Healdsburg, and they do deliver right now, and they're awesome. So support your local shop, and yeah, just give him a call. And yeah, he's texting me right now. So yeah, he's all about helping you guys lace up and get out there exercising. So yeah, call HRC and get your 10% off.
So the next question is, what type of bag do you wear and how much weight is it in addition to the water?
Oh, okay. So my favorite brand is Ultra Aspire, ULTRASPIRE. I literally have, I think I have 5 of these packs. I'm a little bit of a junkie. I love these. There's a lot of brands out there. You have to find something that fits your body. They're all a little pricey. You could probably find a used one on eBay if you don't have $150 to drop on a running pack. Or at the end of the season, they'll be clearing out their old styles. So come fall, you should be looking, maybe you can get one for a discount. I have never weighed this, to tell you the truth. I think a gallon of water, does anybody know how much a gallon of water is?
It's about 9 pounds.
Yeah, okay, so think about that. If I'm carrying 2 liters, then maybe I'm carrying 4 or 5 pounds. And then it depends on how many goodies I have in here. So I don't know, 8 pounds, 7, 8 pounds.
Great. Okay, and then the next question is, what do you include in your first aid kit for minor injuries?
I don't carry a first aid kit. I probably should,
Okay.
but I
Okay.
don't.
And then what is the scariest animal you have seen on a run?
Skunks. Skunks make me scream. And you see those a lot in the morning. And when their tails are up and their butts are facing you, get away because they're
Yes.
getting ready to spray you. I've had quite a few skunk encounters, and luckily we usually spot them before we're on top of them, but like they're ready. They're ready.
Okay. And then what about snakes?
I like snakes. I have never run into them. I did a long run through Northern California. It was a 200-mile relay with friends, and we were out in the bush, and we knew that there were rattlesnakes out there. And one of my friends, he's like, "Oh, just carry a Sharpie. So if you get bit, you can mark where it's bit, and then we'll, get off the trail and we'll get you to the hospital." So carry a Sharpie, I guess.
Okay. That's awesome. Okay, we can keep going on your list.
I think I got to the end.
Oh, you did. Wonderful.
I did. So
All right.
other
So,
questions?
yeah, so lots of questions about coyotes and other animals, and then also people wanted to know what's your number one longest run ever?
Meaning like what was my favorite?
No, longest.
Oh, longest. I did 100 kilometers, which is about 62 miles. And and then they want to know more about animals. I love seeing animals. What's fun about running early in the morning is they're all out, and when you wear your headlamp, it catches their eyes. So as you're running, there's all these like glowing eyes. You see deer, you see coyotes, foxes, squirrels. I've never seen a cat. That would be kind of exciting and scary. I think the biggest thing to remember with wildlife is that in most human, animal, wildlife encounters, it's usually the animal that gets hurt. So it's good to have a lot of respect and compassion for nature. They are scared of you, so give them their space. I've never run into a wild pig. There's a lot of wild pigs up here where I live, but I run where they live because they dig up the ground, so you can see as they're digging for their bugs and whatnot, you can see where they've been. I did have a friend who had her dog out on a local trail, and a pig was chasing her dog, so they had to get away.
Okay, and so there were several questions about, have you ever done a Disney race?
I have not done a Disney race. I would love to do a Disney race if I happened to be in Disneyland when they were doing one, like a Tinkerbell half marathon. I'd wear wings and run in Disneyland. That'd be fun.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So let's see. Well, we're gonna wrap it up, ladies, because we are coming up on the hour. There were a lot of questions on, I guess a lot of girls in our group here have asthma. And have you ever run with someone or known someone who's run with asthma, and what do they do to make sure that they can continue to run and stay safe?
Yeah, actually, one of my best running friends, she does have asthma. She usually carries her inhaler with her. She's been running ultra marathons for, I think, 21, 22 years. She's one of the strongest ladies I know. She was the one I was mentioning earlier. She can walk uphill faster than I can run uphill. So don't let that be a barrier. Get that inhaler and get out there.
Yep. Yep. Let's see here. I think we're
Somebody mentioned stitches.
Yeah.
You will get past the stitching stage. That happens a lot in the beginning. I don't get stitches anymore, but I did in the beginning. So
what would
have
you get
to go
stitches
through it.
for?
Oh no, stitches, like I think they're talking about cramps, right? Stitches in your side. Is that? I think that's what somebody meant. So you do get those, but then you get through them. Your body learns how to get through them.
And
your body learns so much, you guys. The more you do this, the longer you go, your body learns so much, and it becomes so efficient.
How long does it take to run 50 miles?
That is a good question. And that goes into terrain as well. The more technical the trail, the longer it takes. Really, really fast people can do it in Just thinking here, 6, 7 hours if you're a beast. For somebody like me that's normal, 12 hours, 14 hours. Yeah.
So you're eating while you're running.
I do. I did a race. It was a 50 miler in San Francisco, and this one was really fun. It was unmarked, you guys. So imagine running 50 miles through San Francisco and having no markers and having to find your way on foot. It was exciting. I got lost a lot. But my husband was there in the car, and he found me at one point. He had a banh mi sandwich, so I ate my banh mi, and then a couple hours later he showed up. He had pizza. I was eating pizza. So yes, you eat while you run.
That's
And
awesome.
most people don't sleep. That's a question I get a lot. People say, oh, you run 50 miles all at once. And yeah, most people don't sleep. They have aid stations, so sometimes you can sit down if you're feeling sick or you've got to take care of blisters or something like that. On the 200 milers, that's probably the only exception. People do sleep on 200 milers, but it'll be like 30 minutes at a time. It's not like, oh, let's take a nap for 10 hours.
And there's a lot of questions about the Healdsburg Running Company and wondering if they ship or if there's an online ordering system.
Oh, that is a great question. I bet they will. They do have a website, healdsburgrunningcompany.com, and either give them a call. I don't know if they have a shop online or not, but you can definitely give them a call, and everybody that works there is super, and they want to help you out and get you what you need.
Okay. Okay. Well, we really, really appreciate your time, Camille. This was amazing. Can you tell them, all of the girls on the call? So we've had various numbers of girls on the call with a high of 205,
Cool.
which is amazing. Can you tell everyone where to find your books?
Yes, so a great place to go is my website, www.camillepeacock.com. All of my books are there, and I have audiobooks as well. They're all on Amazon. You can get the audiobooks that are available that are on Audible. And then they're also at other retailers such as Barnes & Noble, Kobo. I think a lot of them you can even get through the library.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. So everybody, we are going to send out a copy of this video to all of you and include the links to where you can buy Camille's books as well. They want, oh, one more thing. They want to know what book that you wrote that you recommend the most to them.
Oh, I actually do have a training guide. It's called
Oh, perfect.
Ultra Couch Potato to Ultra Marathon Badass. It's it's for ultra marathon training in the zombie apocalypse. So it's a little bit funny, but there actually is a lot of real world stuff that I have done in there that actually works. And then the other book that I recommended to the girls was this Sulon book, because it's so equivalent to what everybody's going through now with having to go through school electronically and shelter in place. So it's a good adventure with a strong teenage girl who kicks butt. So
That is
check
so
that one out.
awesome. Well, we really appreciate your time, Camille. This was amazing. And we hope that you enjoy your next run.
Thanks, you guys. And I hope everyone is surviving sheltering in place and go out and run around the block.
Exactly.
Bye,
Bye,
thanks for having me.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.